I think today we all have a strong sense of deja vu, no? Because this story, we have seen it before. The United States and Russia, they work on a plan behind everybody's backs. The plan is unacceptable to Ukraine. Europeans are angry. They demand a seat at the table. The media writes that Europe is being sidelined. I mean, you know how that goes. And it's a problem for you, at least for your public perception.
Well, I want to come back to Ukraine. It appears that President Zelensky is under pressure to actually accept this plan we have been talking about. What exactly, if anything, have you discussed in order to help him resist this pressure in particular?
The European Union has always supported a just, lasting and a comprehensive peace. Today we discussed, of course, the latest developments, and Minister Sybiha briefed us on Ukraine's perspective. Our position hasn't changed. For any peace plan to succeed, it has to be supported by Ukraine and it has to be supported by Europe. If Russia really wanted peace, they would have accepted the unconditional ceasefire offer already in March. The pressure must be on the aggressor, not on the victim. Rewarding aggression will only invite more of it. The EU has a very clear two-point plan. First, weaken Russia. Second, support Ukraine. Today, the head of the European Intelligence Centre and the EU Sanctions envoy briefed on the impact of sanctions. The data is very clear. The export of Russian crude oil is the lowest it has been in months. Russian tax revenues from oil are the lowest since the war started. Sanctions are hitting Russia hard and more are coming. Going after Russia's shadow fleet remains a priority, and we had a very intensive discussions about what we can do more. The EU has already sanctioned over 550 ships, and we have conducted extensive diplomatic talks with flag states that register vessels. Now we aim to have pre-boarding agreements with these states. This is a legal way for one party to board and search a vessel of another country. Slowing down the shadow fleet costs Russia revenues. This is why we will work on more sanctions on shadow fleet, both vessels as well as enablers. Many ministers also raised the financial support for Ukraine. The reparations loan is the most clear-cut way to sustain Ukraine's defense. It is always also the way to show Russia that time is not on their side. Supporting Ukraine is a bargain compared to the cost of Russian victory. Today, we also addressed the attacks on Poland's railway network. Russia's hybrid actions in Europe are increasingly brazen. Russia is committing state-sponsored terrorism. There are many ways we can respond, including additional sanctions and tackling online recruitment of saboteurs. Then on Gaza, the United Nations Security Council resolution for an international stabilization force is a game changer. Peace depends on Hamas not having a role, but it also depends on international partners having a role. EU staff are already working in the coordination centre, focusing on humanitarian and security issues. And today, ministers discussed options to expand the EU border monitoring mission in Rafah to other crossing points. We also discussed whether the EU police support mission could take the lead in training the Palestinian police. I welcome that France pledged 100 police officers for that mission. Today we adopted sanctions against Abdelrahim Dagalo, the RSF's second in command. And this sends a signal that the international community will come after those who are responsible.
I think today we all have a strong sense of deja vu, no? Because this story, we have seen it before. The United States and Russia, they work on a plan behind everybody's backs. The plan is unacceptable to Ukraine. Europeans are angry. They demand a seat at the table. The media writes that Europe is being sidelined. I mean, you know how that goes. And it's a problem for you, at least for your public perception. What exactly can you do to change this, to ensure that this doesn't happen again? Because the stakes at play here are enormous for you, for the European Union. So what do you think you need? You need a new strategy, new approach, new channel of communication. What do you need to do to ensure this doesn't happen and you really have a seat at the table? Thank you.
Well, ministers in the room were quite, solid and I would say, calm about this, because we have seen this before, and because, you know, different peace plans cannot work if the Europeans and Ukrainians do not agree to this. So that's why we focus today's discussions on what are we doing and what is our course of action. Like I said, we have a 2-point plan. One is to pressure Russia, and today we discussed very intensively how to work on the shadow fleet, because we also had the head of intelligence, European intelligence, in our meeting, giving concrete examples and numbers how the sanctions on shadow fleet are really affecting Russian revenues to fund this war. And this is our approach, and that's why we focused on our approach. For any peace plan to work, it needs Ukrainians and Europeans to agree. I just bring you one number. When we started with the shadow fleet, the first week, the effect, the revenues from oil dropped via the Baltic Sea and the Black Sea 30%. And what we see, they are at the all-time lowest, but clearly, we need to do more. It's not enough, but it clearly works. So I want to reiterate that. Now, on the protection and infrastructure, it's clear that, you know, infrastructure under the sea or the trains or you know, all the infrastructure that we have, you know, it requires a lot of effort to protect it along the way. So what are we doing? We are, of course, proposing new sanctions, but we also, you know, share the best practices how to tackle the online recruitment, because today we discussed also this. Who are those who are committing this? These are usually petty criminals that are bought off, you know, to do these sabotage acts on behalf of others, and you know, to really tackle that, and that is a national competence. But because some countries have more experience with that than the others, then to share the best practices and to really be vocal about this, that all these petty criminals cannot get away with this.
Ukraine, I want to come back to Ukraine. I know that today you were discussing the financing of Ukraine for the next 2 years, for 26-27. What is the main, the preferable for you option of financing of Ukraine? We know that there are 3 options according to the options paper presented by commissions. And what is the situation with the frozen assets? Will it be possible to use them? And what is the position of Belgium? Is it changing or is it the same? And if I may, the second one, 20th package of sanctions, when it will be ready, and maybe hope that it will be discussed by the leaders of the countries in December. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We didn't discuss in depth the financing issue for Ukraine, although it was raised several times. And it is true that there is option paper on the table. Those countries that spoke for the financing also expressed their support for the reparations loan, and also reiterated the urgency to move with that. So that is clearly the message that we got from that. 20th package of sanctions, we are working with that, but we also discussed whether we could be more, effective in doing steps on the way, not always concentrating on the big packages, but for example, on the shadow fleet. I mean, Russia is very creative together with our partners, and we need to be creative as well, which means that to be more agile and actually, put small things all the time on the table to tackle, which means that not the big package every time, but every time some vessels that have an effect on the Russian crude oil exports.
Well, I want to come back to Ukraine. It appears that President Zelensky is under pressure to actually accept this plan we have been talking about. What exactly, if anything, have you discussed in order to help him resist this pressure in particular? Thank you.
Thank you. First, we discussed that the pressure should be on the aggressor. I mean, we haven't seen one single concession from Russian side, and they are the ones who have started this war. They are the ones who have invaded another country. They are the ones who are doing the killings of the civilians in Ukraine. So, they can also stop this war immediately. And that's why, our approach is to put the pressure on the aggressor to really stop this. And this is the messages that we are conveying also to our other partners around the world. We are also, the discussions regarding reparations loan is also about, helping Ukraine to defend itself and sending a clear signal to Russia that they can't outlast Ukraine.
This morning you were asked if EU officials participated in the elaboration of transplant for Ukraine, and you replied that as far as you know, no EU official participated. At the end of this day, did you have time to check, and can you tell us exactly if you think and if you know if any EU official participated in this plan? Thanks.
Thank you. Like I said, the discussions were very calm and focusing on the issues that we are doing, because we have been quite steady in our plans, whereas there are other things happening outside, but we have been very focused and stable in our plans, which was what we were discussing. No, to answer your question, nobody reflected that they were part of it.
I have a number of questions on potential further measures against the shadow fleet. So, for instance, you've said that there should be continuous listings. Has this been agreed today, or do you expect a decision in December? How about the pre-authorized boardings? You've been calling for this for some time already. Do you now have a tasking so that you can start negotiations? And then member states suggested to also go after third countries that support the shadow fleet, or actors in third countries. Has this been agreed? So basically, what's the way forward on this? Thank you.
Thank you. Very, very good question. First on the rolling, the putting sanctions on the shadow fleet on more rolling basis than only in the packages. The ideas come from member states, and we agreed that they also provide the different ideas, and then we also work with the Commission to be more agile in this regard. The majority who spoke on that said that they agreed to this approach, that we do it faster. We don't wait for next package, because we saw and heard from the intelligence how these sanctions on the shadow fleet are really having an effect. We will work on that. Then, yes, it's true. I've been talking regarding this mandate to negotiate quite long, but in European Union things take time. And now we are at this point where we discuss this with the member states and we can proceed. Then also the third countries and the enablers, all the services provided to those shadow fleet. We are doing the outreach and working together with also our other partners. I mean, what we saw today as well, what kind of effect it has when we do something alone, if we do it together with the United States and the UK, or we do it with the UK and European Union. I mean, it's clear that we have the biggest effect if all while US, UK and EU and other partners are also on board.
First of all, the Ukrainian foreign minister was connected today by ATC. So my first question is, did he acknowledge that the plan exists? Because so far, this is just some of your colleagues today described it as a speculation. We don't know what it is in there. So I was wondering if the minister told you, at least if there is something in there that he could share with you. And secondly, the reparation loan discussions obviously takes time. There is a rush to wrap it up before the end of the year. The money is needed. But in the end, if there is a peace plan, and if this peace plan appears very quickly, then it's very difficult to close a discussion on the reparation loan, because maybe it's not useful anymore. So my question is, do you think that at this moment, who has the interest of going quickly, into a peace plan? Is more Russia or is more Ukraine?
Of course, on one side, Ukrainian people are killed every day, and their infrastructure is bombed every day. The winter is coming, so it's clearly that they are suffering the most. They want the suffering to end as fast as possible. That is very clear. But at the same time, as it can't be with the price of giving up your country, basically. So this is also quite clear. That's why the work on the reparations loan has to continue, because it makes also Ukraine stronger, and it makes, it sends a very clear message to Russia that Russia can't outlast Ukraine. And I just remind you that Ukraine is fighting for their homeland, for their people, for their civilians. If over 93% of Russian targets have been civilian targets, it's just to cause as much harm and suffering to the people as possible. Any government cannot agree to that you actually, award the one who is doing the killing. And that's why I think, it's also a question why Russia is now making a good face again, because I think they are afraid of this reparations loan. I think they are coming to the point where they are running out of money, and they want to show outside that they are super strong and everything, but actually it's not the case. So I think again this gives us the reason to be strong, to keep on the course, to support Ukraine, but also pressure Russia.